We are reading from the Mandukya Upanishad. This is our online class number 16 on chapter number 1, and we are studying the very important mantra that is the essence of the whole Upanishad and whole non-dual Vedanta. That is mantra number 7. And we are elaborating on our self-enquiry. So this will be the 4th class on self-enquiry. Let me just remember the 7th mantra itself. And I would remind you to keep it in mind that I am using the word conscious instead of consciousness. And why I do that, you will be able to know of it towards the end of this mantra. So the meaning of the mantra, once again, they, means the holy ones, consider the 4th to be which is Nanta Prajnam, not conscious of the internal world, nor conscious of the external world, nor conscious of both the worlds, nor conscious of the condensed mass of deep sleep, nor conscious of all these states. Na prajnam means not conscious of all these states together simultaneously, nor unconscious, which is unseen, beyond the empirical dealings, agrajam, beyond the grasp of the organs of action, alakshanam, which is not inferable, which is unthinkable, indescribable, and whose valid proof consists in the single belief in the self, in which all phenomena cease, which is unchanging, auspicious, non-dual. That is the self, that is you, that is I. That is to be known. Savijñeyaha. So Atma Savijñeyaha. That is the instruction, or that is the revelation of this mantra. So we continue with that word. Ekatma Pratyaya Saram. The valid proof of that Atman consists in the conviction in our own self. We have so far seen the process of denial. No, not, nor, like that. Now that has stopped with this word. Now it is an affirmative word. Eka Atma Pratyaya Saram. Atma Pratyaya Saram, as we have discussed already, that means I am that conviction. I am. The conviction of ever-present and never-absent awareness of the Turiyam or the Atman inside. This is the nearest to us because it is I. And that is my awareness of myself. So what can be nearer than that? And the word saram means pramanam, awareness or valid proof. What more proof do I need about my own existence, that I know I exist? This awareness of my own existence cannot be taken away from me. Hence, this is the most valid proof of the existence of Turiyam, Atma Pratyaya Saram. That is the word. Aham or I is the constant factor in all our experiences, we have seen. In waking state, in dream, in deep sleep, everywhere the same person. It is unchanging, non-variable, or unalterable factor or aspect in all these states. The constant factor. And this is the highest common factor. Turiyam is said to be the constant factor. I am also a constant factor. The Upanishad says Turiyam is the constant factor in all my states, waking state, dream state, and deep sleep. And I know that I am that constant factor. Hence, I am Turiyam, I am consciousness. That is the meaning. Now we deal with the word Eka, means only one. Only one proof. How? The states are many, but the witness of the states is only one. When I say I am awake, I slept, I dreamt, then what happens? Waking is not there in the dream. So waking is different from the dream. And also waking and dream and deep sleep, they are all different from each other. When one state is there, other two states are not there. When I am awake, there is no dream, no sleep. When I am dreaming, there is no waking, no dream, is deep sleep. Please observe the stress I am giving on the word or the letter I. When I say, I am awake, I slept, I dreamt, then what happens? The I continues in all the sentences. I am awake, I slept, I dreamt. The I is common in all these three sentences. This I is the same I, Eka, in all the three states. This is one and the same I. And Eka means only one. Right? Therefore, Eka Atma Pratyaya finally means the conviction that I, Eka, am Atman or Turiya. I am the Atman, I am Turiya. The Upanishad is not using its authority here in the final stage. It has led us by the hand up to this point using its authority. But now it is just referring to our own experiences, which we cannot deny. Each one of us has this experience that it is the same I in all the experiences of mine. In childhood, in the youth, in old age, and even in death. The person who was born, the same person dies. I am the same everywhere, in all my states, in all the stages of my biological life, in all my mental states. When I am angry, when I am depressed, when I am happy, when I am jealous, is the same I in all these different moods. Do you accept it or not? You, my dear Vishwa, you cannot deny it. That is your experience, right? If we say that no, the I who experienced childhood is different from the I who am now 70 years old, suppose, then you prove that you believe in the I which is the changeful body. Yes, the body in your childhood, when you grew up, they are all different. Still, if you say the child is not the old person, then the childhood belongs to a person who disappears with the childhood. The youth belongs to a person who disappears with the youth. Then why do you say, in my childhood, in my youth, etc.? This logic is ridiculous. If the child I is different from the youth I, then this youth I will not know what the child I experienced. Correct? If the child I is different from the youth I, then the child I's experiences will not be known by the youth I. This is called pratyabhigna in Sanskrit. That we remember the earlier experiences. The experiences are handed over and not handed over, they continue. The same cell, there are so many cells, they are aging. It is like that, handing over. If the Upanishad had accepted this idea of a changeful Turiam, I, then it would not have used the word Eka Atma. It is not only one, but it is also the conscious reality, one and the same Atman. Ekatma pratyaya saram. This is the negation of the postulates of the two Buddhistic schools of number one, the Shunyavada or the nihilism of the Madhyamikas, which says that nothing exists at the end. And number two, there is another school of Buddhism called the Yogachara school, which preaches Kshanika Vijnanavada, means momentary knowledge. Momentariness means every moment is temporary and its beginning and end are both momentary. Beginning and end are both momentary. It is just like a particle appearing and disappearing without leaving any trace for the next particle to know that there had been another particle before it. So the moment, the time, the minutest, the shortest, smallest unit of time, moment. One moment will not know the other moment because one moment has its own beginning and own end. This is what is called momentariness. Next moment is a new beginning and also a new end. You may include some theological schools of some religions which accept a beginning from nothing and an end in something. Ex nihilo nihil fit. Nothing coming out of nothing. And here it is saying that there is a beginning from nothing, but end will have something after it. So end will be in a heaven or in a hell. What a poor logic. If nothing was there before the birth, that is in the past, then it is nothing now, that is in the present. And it will be nothing at the end after death, that is in the future. That is the fate of nothingness. There will be no heaven, no hell. This Upanishadic mantra denies this peculiar logic. It says that the momentariness of all nothingness belongs to the appearances called the states. The states are momentary, but the acknowledgement of temporariness the validation of temporariness, the acknowledgement of temporariness, or the acknowledgement of the permanence belongs to the underlying, unchanging, one single reality which is called Turiya. This Turiya cannot be nothing, cannot be changeful. It has to be something and it has to be changeless. We will continue with this further and further. So I move on to the next word the Upanishad uses, prapancha upasamam, in which all phenomena cease. Well, for the time being we skip this word. We will have to take it up at the end. By that time many things will be clear. So it will be easy for us to understand the underlying meaning of this wonderful word. The next word the Upanishad uses, Shantam, which is unchanging, peaceful, or which is changeless, or therefore eventless, therefore peaceful. All Ashanti means loss of peace belong to the states or the transactions. So when there are no transactions, even mentally also no transactions happening, then we are at peace. So Atman is changeless, the Turiyam is changeless. So it is Shantam, peaceful. Shivam, auspicious. Actually, Shivam means Sukham Anandam. It is happiness. Peace is happiness. So Shantam and Shivam both are meaning happiness. Then the very foundational word appears here. Advaitam. Advaitam. Non-dual. This is a shocking statement that the Upanishad is making here. It was going on well with us so far. The Upanishad introduced the 4 padas in the mantra number 2, from the mantra number 2 to 6 actually. And so far we went on validating those padas. The mantra number 2 says, Ayam Atma, Soyam Atma Chatuspat. That Atman, this Atman is Brahman, and that Atman has got 4 padas, means parts, suppose, aspects. So we said Vishwa is pada number 1, not we, means Upanishad said. Vishwa is pada number 1, Taijasa is pada number 2, and Prajna is pada number 3, and Turiya is pada number 4. Vishwa means the person in waking state, Taijasa person means person in sleep state, dreaming state, and Prajna means the person in deep sleep state. And then Turiyam, no state, but Turiyam is called Turiya Pada. So these are the 4 padas. The Upanishad said, Soyam Atma Chatuspad, that Atman has 4 parts, padas. But suddenly it ends everything here, saying that the first 3 padas or states are mithya or unreal because they are relative. They are not ultimately real. Prathama pada, etc. are mithya padas. They are unreal padas, parts. And Turiya pada, this now Turiya, the 7th mantra here, is the Satya pada, the reality. That means there is only one pada. Advaitam means Turiyam. That means Turiyam is the only pada. Turiyam is the only thing. Therefore, it is non-dual. There are no 2, only one. This is where we need to fully concentrate actually. Because we are trying to, or rather the Upanishad is trying to unwind or unroll the intricate warp and woof of our misunderstanding, our beliefs, our belief systems. we have woven the fabric of our beliefs by crisscrossing the fibers of falsehood. We thought that we are fine being protected, being enwrapped, encased, being protected by this falsehood, these belief systems, these beliefs. We thought that we are being protected. But the crucial question of who we are roused us from that dense sleep of self-denying assurances. The job is tough because our own conviction about the validity of our so-called understandings or beliefs is very deep-rooted. We accepted unreal to be real. That is the main problem. And that has gone very deep inside us. That has created a great conviction in us. But the question, who am I, that roused us from our sleep. That is why we need to go very carefully with lot of attention. We got this lead from the Upanishad that the earlier three padas are superimposed on Turiyam. This is called superimposition or covering or overlaying, or in Sanskrit it is called adhyasa. They are like the coverings on the Turiyam, on me. What types of coverings? Suppose I am playing three roles in three separate dramas. The same I. In one I am a king, in another drama I am a farmer, in still another I am a dumb person. The attributes of a king or the dresses of the king are different from those of other two characters. These dresses, these three separate roles are superimposed on me, on one and the same me, at different times, under different conditions, in different dramas. Same me. These three separate roles are nothing but three sets of attributes, which sets are separate from each other. Therefore, they are sets of attributes which are separate from me. My roles are separate from me. But they are attached to one and the same me under three different conditions. The three conditions and the three sets of attributes which go with their individual conditions are different from me. I take them upon me as three different dresses. The king means the summer dress, the farmer means the autumn dress, and the dumb person means the winter dress. But it is the same me, having three different dresses: waking state, dream state, and deep sleep states. Now let us put this idea into an algebraic equation. A, B, and C are three different conditions. Why are they different? Because each of them can be defined differently. How can you define them as different entities? Because each one of the A, B, C have their different attributes. Hence, what we learn is that conditions are nothing but attributes. Attributes are conditions, conditions are attributes. That is why we define conditions. Or features, attributes means features. And together, the condition and feature together, they can be called status. Hence, A, B, C are three different dresses with their attributes, right? Three different dresses for whom? For me. for the one and the same person who uses these dresses. These dresses are jada or inert, dead, which exist for the use of me, the conscious being. These inert or dead matters are being used by the conscious me. Correct? That's good. There is a logical example in Indian logical system. It is known as Arundhati Nyaya. In ancient Indian astronomy, the asterism of the Big Dipper, that is part of the constellation known as Ursa Major or Great Bear, is called Saptarshi Mandala, with the group of 7 stars representing 7 great saints or rishis. The constellation looks like a question mark hanging upside down. The stars that come in the straight line on the tail side of that question mark from the last one are named like Alkaid or Bhrigu in Indian system. Then the next one is Mizar or Vasishtha. The third one is Alioth or Angiras, and so on. The second star from below the tail is Vasishtha. It has an accompanying small star near it. It is not easy to find this tiny star near Vasishtha, because Vasishtha is very bright. So tiny star will be flooded with the Vasishtha's light. So this tiny star is called Arundhati in ancient Indian astronomy and Alcor in modern times, modern astronomy. The logic goes like this: one shows the Saptarshi Mandala first to someone, then the last star Bhrigu, then the next big star Vasishtha. After that, he or she is asked to concentrate on Bhrigu for some time, then to concentrate on Vasishtha for some time, then to search for a tiny star near this big second star. By this time, this person's eyes are set with the spot, and the tiny star is easily visible. Then he or she is told that this tiny star is called Arundhati or Alcor maybe. So, this is the way, beginning with the gross or grobe thing, we go to the subtle and to the causal. Such a process is followed in Vedanta to help in our self-enquiry. This is called Arundhati Nyaya. It is the process of introducing the big ones first and then rejecting them to find the smaller or subtle ones until we reach the targeted thing called the Turiya, the formless and impersonal. Now the Upanishad says that these 3 conditions or attributes, which are inert or dead matters, are all unreal, and that they all rest on me. Let us look at our familiar words for replacing the dresses. They are Vishwa in the waking state, Taijasa in the dream state, and Prajna in the deep sleep state. Am I there in these 3 states or not? Yes, I am there. These are my states. So I am there. I am in all the states. What are my names in these 3 different roles? Yes, you are right. I, the same I, am called Vishwa in the waking state, and so on. How am I different from the states? Let us take up the Vishwa. Vishwa means Vishwa Tvam. Now remember, we use this word Tvam and Ness. Vishwaness or Vishwahood, whatever you may choose, or the characteristics or attributes that define the Vishwa. Suppose I say sugar is sweet. That means there is the sweetness of sugar that makes it different from other things. Sweetness. That is the differentiating agent. What is or are the Vishwaness in the Vishwa? The Vishwaness or the attributes are the waking state in which the physical body and mind are functioning, and the mind is turned outward, Bahishprajna. Similarly, Taijasa Tvam or Taijasa-ness means the experiences happening in the dream state, in the subtle body, and the mind is turned inside. Antah-prajnatvam. Again, prajnatvam means that is the sleep state. So the Upanishad says that these three states or statuses, like the status of a Vishwa or of a Taijasa or of a Prajna, are all superimposed on Turiyam or the real I in me. Hence they are unreal or relative. They are relative or having time-bound experience. Well, it is accepted that these are relative experiences. But the question is, how are they supported even for a relative experience? Are they just simply hanging in the balance in the sky, just having no place to stand? They have to have a basis or support, or should be supported by something. They have to stay on something. Yes, that support is Turiyam, and that is me. I am the support of my states. Otherwise, if you become the support of my states, it is a big problem. You will experience my happiness, leave it out, but my sufferings, that is a big problem. We will use two famous examples from non-dual Vedanta to illustrate this point. We are familiar with the example of the snake and rope. In mild darkness, a rope lying on a pathway is mistaken for a snake. There is actually a rope, but you see a snake by mistake. This snake is called a superimposition on the rope. Is the snake real or unreal? In this example of the rope snake, the snake is surely not there. It is unreal or mithya. Then the question is, do I see the snake or not? Yes, I see the snake. Next question is, do I see the rope or not? No, I do not see the rope. See? The rope is there, but I do not see it. Snake is not there, but I see it. See the fallacy. Is the rope there or not? Yes, it is there. Then why don't you see it? This will be answered later. You yourself might know the answer even now. You can say that it is due to the darkness or ignorance. But that is not that easy. We need to analyze that answer itself. So we leave it here now. We will take it up later. Now replace the rope with the Turiya or consciousness and the snake with the Vishwa. You experience the Vishwaness even though it is unreal. You say you are such and such person. You are awake. You are experiencing this world through your physical body and your mind. And your mind is turned outward. But you do not experience the Turiyam. the consciousness inside, even though it is there. Why don't I experience it? Again, this question will be answered later. Let us take up another example. It is known as the colors of the crystal. We will continue with this example for quite some time in this Upanishad. This is a very, very strong example. We have discussed about it some time back. Now let us understand it clearly. The crystal is colorless. The crystal is colorless. But it can reflect any color on it. This is the truth. Suppose it is like a big floor tile made of crystal. You place a red flower on it. The crystal looks red. It appears to be red. It is not red. We said the crystal is colorless. But if you put a red flower near it, then it appears to be red. The crystal appears to be red, which has no color actually. The crystal is the subject of this example, and it is called Upahitam, the subject. And the flower is an object superimposed on the crystal called Upadhi, superimposition. And the redness of the crystal is a relative experience. Because if you remove the red flower, the redness of the crystal goes. So the redness belongs to the flower, not to the crystal. Did you see the crystal looking red or not? Yes, I saw the crystal appearing red as long as the red flower was there. Please remember one thing, the crystal is always without any color. The red crystal is an appearance as long as the red flower is there. Now compare it with our Vishwa. The Turiya is the crystal, colorless. The waking state is the object superimposed on the crystal. Right? The Turiyam, the consciousness, is the crystal without any color. And the waking state is the object, like the red flower, superimposed on the crystal. And the Vishwa, or the redness of the crystal, red appearance of the crystal is a temporary experience. Vishwatvam, Vishwaness, that I am the waker, this wakerness is a temporary experience. Because when the dreamerness comes, then wakerness is not there. Time-bound, temporary experience. So the consciousness is the crystal, the waking state is the superimposed object on the crystal like the flower, and the Vishwaness, Vishwatvam, is a temporary experience like the redness of the crystal. The crystal does not become really red, but we experience it, we see it. So my Vishwatvam, the Vishwaness, is a temporary experience. Similarly, we can bring a green flower and get a green crystal, which we may call the Taijasa in the dream state. We may bring another flower which is blue, RGB, blue flower, then we get a blue crystal which we call the Prajna. Why should the Upanishad introduce the three states in the first place, if they are ultimately unreal, temporary? Well, the Upanishad did not introduce it as something new. The Upanishad is trying to analyze your or my own experiences of the states. It is analyzing our experiences as part of the process of self-analysis. Self-analysis means the process of analyzing our experiences until we reach the self. There is the difference between the mononasha in the yoga and knowing the unreality of the mind in Vedanta. We have been studying the Yoga Sutras. We have seen that finally we have to remove all the thoughts and discover the self. And here in Vedanta, the Upanishad is saying you don't need to remove the thoughts, but you have to know that they are all unreal. They are there, but they are unreal. This is very important. Vishwa will be there, but we will know that it is temporary existence. And this is one very practical aspect of our practice of spiritual life. You don't have to destroy or eliminate anything. You have to first ascertain their unreality by discovering the reality behind them. The chairs do not ascertain the value of the person who sits on it, but the value of the person adds value to the chair. If I sit on a chair of a king, I do not become a king. As soon as I respect the value of the self inside the body becomes a temple. Otherwise, it is nothing but a garbage store. We have to know that our Vishwatvam is temporary, relative, that is why unreal. Ultimately, we don't have to remove our Vishwatvam. We have to know that this Vishwatvam will be ultimately unreal because it is time-bound, relative. We have to see the world with a changed outlook. The Purusha Suktam says, Padosya Vishwa Bhutani, etc., etc. The whole thing is nothing but the appearance through everything that divinity is peeping. We will be able to see the grace, the auspiciousness in and through all that we see, that we hear, that we deal with. That's what was the opening prayer. If we value the world and everything in the world as they are, I mean, if I see body, wealth, property, etc. as they are, then I am not realized. I am bound by the world and worldliness. But when I can see through it the immortal self, the auspicious reality behind, then these things are divinized. It is not that they are divinized, but because I live in the divinity, my outlook is divinized. I know that the divine is the truth and the world is an appearance. A long way to go indeed. What is the literal meaning of the word Turiyam? The fourth? We have said that many times. Is it not a contradiction? If it is non-dual Advaitam, it cannot be the fourth. If it is the fourth, it is not non-dual, because you are counting. There is possibility to count, and you are counting 4. The Upanishad used another significant word to solve this problem. It says, Chaturtham manyante. It is considered to be the fourth, the Turiyam. Turiyam means fourth. Fourth in Sanskrit is called Turiyam. It is not really the fourth. Manyante, it is considered to be the fourth. People call it as fourth. And by whom it is called fourth? We will come to that. We will not count the other 3 mithya padas or unreal padas parts. Then only Turiyam will be one and one alone. But the others who are ignorant of the reality, may count the relative padas as 1, 2 and 3. Then Turiyam is called the fourth. by them. From the ignorant person's standpoint, it is called the fourth. From the wise person's standpoint, it is not the fourth. Manyante. Just they think like that. They mistake it like that. Once Swamiji gave an example. Suppose I am called a rich person. Why? Because I have money in the bank. Enough money to be rich. To be called a rich person. So my richness is dependent on my money in the bank. Bank is real, money is real, therefore my richness is real. Alright? Is my richness real or unreal? It is real because it is dependent on the real money that I have in the real bank. Now suppose the money and my bank account are unreal. Am I rich or not? My richness becomes unreal because the money and the bank account are unreal. Therefore, where does the richness stand? Do you see the logic? Clear? The ignorant people, manyante, think that it is the fourth. Like we have once told, the bangle number 1, chain number 2, ring number 3, and then gold number 4. We are counting. This count is valid for the person who do not recognize that the gold inside the bangle is the only reality. Who do not recognize that it is nothing but gold only, even if when you call it a bangle or a chain or a ring. And hence ignorantly they count the gold as fourth. So Turiyam means fourth, is a count by the ignorant people. Let us remember the cases of Vishwa as the red crystal, Taijasa as the green crystal, and Prajna as the blue crystal, and then Turiya as the colorless crystal. Turiya is fourth. Why did the Upanishad introduce the other 3 padas in the first place? That's what we asked. It would have been easy for us to follow Turiya alone if we would have started with Turiya only. No, it would have been extremely difficult, if not impossible. That is why we gave the example of Arundhati Nyaya. And even now, at this point, when we have learned so much, it is not going to be that easy to know what Turiya is really. We will learn about it slowly. The Gaudapada Karika in this Upanishad uses a well-devised logical method of Adhyaropa and Apavada. This is a logical method of prior superimposition and subsequent denial, Apavada, used in Advaita Vedanta in respect of the phenomenal attributes of Brahman. Adhyaropa means the superimposition or covering on the truth that is created by layers of beliefs in the falsehood that the unreal is real. And Apavada means removing the layers of ignorance and taking us by the hand to the subtle truth, the consciousness. It is like coming out of a labyrinth or a maze, and exactly the same way we entered into it. We have to come out the same way. We have learnt about the superimpositions, about the gross Vishwa, the subtle Taijasa, the causal Prajna, and the foundation called the Turiya. Let us go out in the reverse order. Turiya to Prajna to Taijasa and then to Vishwa. The foundation, the causal state, the subtle state, and at last the gross state, Vishwa. The original Turiya is now appearing as Vishwa. And we are searching for the answer to our query, who am I? Who is asking? The Vishwa in the waking state and now listening to the Mandukya Upanishad class. Right? You are not in your Taijasa or dream state, or nor in the deep sleep state now. So you are Vishwa who is asking the question. Clear? Now let us practice the Apavada or de-superimposition. What is a Vishwa? Remove the Vishwaness or Vishwa status from Vishwa. Then it is Turiyam. What are the Vishwaness? All the attributes in the waking state. When you are acting through your physical body and mind, and your mind is extrovert or turned outwards, outside, remove all these attributes, then you get the real Turiya. You do not get, you are. One very subtle thing we have to remember. Even the idea of knowing the Turiyam is to be removed. Because the act of knowing is also an act of the mind. The mind cannot know the Turiyam, the subject. The habit or ability of the mind is that it knows a thing by only objectifying a thing. But it cannot objectify the subject. That is impossible. The knowerhood is also negated by this mantra. The very act of validating the knowerhood is the denial of Turiyam. The three, Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna, are false statuses. They are not three distinct entities with permanent values. Hence, Turiyam is non-dual Advaitam. The introduction of the three Vishwa, Taijasa and Prajna in mantra numbers 2 to 6 is called Adhyaropa or superimposition, and the use of the word Advaita in the mantra number 7 is de-superimposition or Apavada of the states. This argument leads us to the conclusion that the idea of forefathers is wrong. There are no forefathers. Then what remains? Upanishad says, Sa Atma. That is the self. It is not a pada, but the Atman. That is the Chaturtham, Turiyam. That is not Turiyam Chaturtham, that is Atma, which has so long been referred to as the fourth or the Turiyam. Now it is the right time for us to turn to the one and very important word which we left out. Prapanchopashamam, in which all phenomena cease. This evaluation is to be understood together with the one Atman confirmation. Shankaracharya denies the permanence of the external states and establishes that denial on the permanent consciousness. Let me speak it once again because this is very, very important. Shankaracharya denies the permanence of the external states and establishes that denial on the permanent consciousness. Who denies? And what does he deny? He denies the permanence of the external states, not the states. Do you see the logic? States will be there, but their permanence is denied. How does he do that? He confirms that denial by the permanent consciousness, that is Atman. If I say that the states are unreal, then it will surely mean that I am real. That is the idea. If I too become as unreal as the states, then my statement that the states are unreal, that statement will also be unreal. Because the person who is saying that person itself does not exist. Such a proposition is called nihilism. The Vedantic nihilism and momentariness are valid about the relative experiences of the states, not of the Atman or of the reality, unlike the Buddhists. The experiencer of this nihilism about the states is well and strongly grounded on a permanent Atman or consciousness. The experiencer is consciousness. And that consciousness says that the states are temporary. That is the denial. This is a nihilism about the states, not of the experiencer of the states, not about the experiencer, the Atman, and that is in us. Rather, it is the experiencer that has to be there to experience the nothingness of the relative, which is the target of the Upanishads. The Upanishad targets the experiencer because with the help of the permanent experiencer, the relative experiences can be invalidated. This is the difference between the momentariness and nihilism of the Buddhistic schools and the Vedantic Mayavada, or the doctrine of relativity. Some so-called academicians, and their numbers are many, try to brand Shankara as a pseudo-Buddhist, Prachanna Buddha, falsely thinking that Shankara's Mayavada is similar to the Buddhistic Shunyavada. The Buddhistic nihilism may lead to a funny conclusion that those who believe in nihilism do not themselves actually exist. Hence, it is obvious that their opinion too does not exist, and hence that opinion is invalid. Later, Acharya Gaudapada will thrash out this issue in the Buddhists and expose the irrationality of their arguments. That will be done in the 4th chapter of this Upanishad. And we know that there are 4 chapters of this Upanishad. Agama Prakarana, that we are dealing with, the traditional doctrine of the Upanishads, the Upanishad proper. Second is Vaitatthya Prakarana, non-reality of the empirical experiences. Third is Advaita Prakarana, non-duality, the basic of each experience. And Alata Shanti Prakaranam, extinguishing or dousing the burning wood. All the experiences find their worth in Atman. That will be done in the 4th chapter. And what more? The Upanishad continues. Savijñeha, that is to be known, that Atman, sa Atma savijñeha, that Atman is to be known. How? That is the thing that resolves all queries, that answers all our questions which we left unanswered here now. And the Upanishad will solve that by what? Not by resolving or solving the problems. They will dissolve all the problems. The Upanishad will dissolve all the problems. There is no need to resolve them. By dissolving the problems, we solve the problems. That is the greatest thing which will be discussed later on, and we will continue with that. The savijña, that has to be known, that will be discussed in our next classes. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of this class.